Good, I think we're good to go. So we're hitting the hour, and let's say there's typically quite a lot of people joining a few minutes late, and that's absolutely fine. That's what always happens. But welcome everybody. This is the special interest group from SharePoint Patterns and Practices Initiative, and this time this is the bi-weekly call where we concentrate on the PnP Sites Core and PnP PowerShell. And quite often we actually also cover elements like the modern site provisioning, which is pretty close to the PnP Sites Core and PnP PowerShell as well, and the modern site experiences in general. This time today, so we will have a relatively short kind of a presentation part, and we'll concentrate on the demos. So we do have two demos coming up, one from John Liu related on how to use PnP PowerShell in Azure Functions and then connecting to the SharePoint Online, and that's a super cool demo and great to get it recorded as well. And then a second one is a run through of a tool which is coming from the PnP initiative as well. So Bert has been working on this great tool which is giving running through the sites and doing assessment on the site around the readiness for the modern experiences, and Bert is going to cover that more detailed on his section. Before we actually go started, so just quickly, I'm always repeating this and I do apologize, but there's always new people in this course. So SharePoint Patterns and Practices is owned and coordinated by the SharePoint engineering. So we are actually, our team is responsible, or my team, I work in the Redmond team, and we're responsible for all of the dev experiences within a SharePoint. But the PnP initiative is really open source, community-driven initiative, and we work together with community, MVPs, and the internal and external community members to provide code samples, guidance documentations. We have community calls, we have special interest group calls like this one, bi-weekly call, and then we have another one for SharePoint Framework topics, which is bi-weekly as well. The themes are on SharePoint Framework, SharePoint add-ins, Microsoft Graph, Office 365 development in general. A lot of the SharePoint adding model topics also apply to on-premises, and in future, whenever the SharePoint Framework will be landing in on-premises, which will happen this calendar year, then the SharePoint Framework topics are valid for SharePoint 2016 as well. AKMS, SharePoint PnP is the one address to remember. Good. Let's actually get on going on today's agenda. So today we kind of have one slide around the PnP March release and what we're planning to do for the April release and May release. So you get some sort of a high-level understanding where the PnP Core team will be spending the most of their time. Then we will have a demo around the PnP PowerShell in Azure Functions. So John Liu is joining from Australia, and it's pretty darn late at his location, so we wanted to actually have him first so he can actually do the demo, and if he needs to get some sleep, he can actually drop from the call. Thank you, John, for that. And then the second thing is, and the second demo is the modern user interface compatibility scanner, and this is done, the demonstration is done by Bert. The code is actually already available in a GitHub as well, and the whole point of that one is that you're able to run this tool and get an understanding what is the situation around your tenant in the context of the modern experiences. So can you flip over, what kind of customizations are there, and all of that, so you get a nice report on the findings from the tenant. And then we should have plenty of time for the Q&A. If there's any questions around PnP PowerShell or PnP Sites Core, we can have that open discussion within a call as well. If there's no questions and people want to have rather discussions in the social media or in the tech communities, we can close the call early, and that's absolutely fine as well. Good. And moving on things. So I do have one slide around the March 2017 release, which happened last week, and more around the future, what are we actually working on. So on the PnP Core component and the PnP PowerShell, not a significant amount of changes from a capability perspective, but there's a few really interesting, let's say, elements there, which John is actually going to use as well. So starting from the March 2017 release, you're able to use app-only connectivity through Graph, app-only connectivity to graph from a SharePoint or PnP PowerShell or the PnP Core component. To be fair, I don't know exactly what John is going to show, but we'll see how it actually goes. He has 20 minutes roughly from a timing perspective. But anyway, so there was contributions from a community around how can we use the app only to access graph endpoints. And as an example, if you are provisioning modern SharePoint sites, that's one option to do so. So you're hitting or connecting to the graph and then creating a new modern site using the graph endpoints. Alternatively, you can actually use REST APIs provided from SharePoint as well. But there are certain differences between those. In general, for the future, we're still working on this kind of a massive refactoring of the PnP provisioning engine, and this is really around the fact that we want to simplify and optimize the code in a way that in the future, when we're introducing changes, they can be more easily tested, and we can actually build easier unit testing and all of that. So Paolo Pialorsi is working on that one with Ivan from, well, Ivan just changed the company. I can't remember Ivan's company's new name. If Ivan is in the call, he can actually point that in the window. But that should be ready for April release. And after that, we can then concentrate on introducing a new version of the PnP provisioning schema. So there's quite a lot of feedback which we have got in a GitHub around what should be added. And those are, for example, around the modern pages support, automatic CDN configuration for libraries. That would be really cool. Webhook association automatically to the lists which are getting provisioned, term store improvements, and also in general improved coverage and matching the CSAM capabilities. So the PnP provisioning engine is always using the available REST and the CSAM APIs. So whatever we are providing from a template perspective, that matching capability has to be available and exposed from the API, because otherwise we can't actually make that happen, which is kind of understandable. Good, but without taking any additional time on kind of an intro, and in the future, by the way, before we actually go to John's presentation, in the future as well, we try to minimize actually the presentation times on these calls and concentrate more on additional topics and scenarios. And obviously, we should have again be more public in the social media what are we going to present today. But I think it's time anyway for John to share his screen, and hopefully the network latency gods are with us because he is calling from Australia. So let's see how this actually goes. But John, if you unmute yourself and start sharing, you should be able to take over the presentation if everything is working fine.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, all good, all good.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, is it tiny or is it okay?
The screen is fine. Yeah, it just arrived at least in my location. Yeah, it's cool. All good at least for me.
Okay, I'm sounding quite cheerful at 2 a.m. I'm actually quite tired.
Yes.
But let's just get going. I don't actually know how many people have used Azure Functions. So because I want to show quite a bit, you see how many functions I've got lined up. We won't show all of them. If you have a particular one you want to see, yell out in the chat channel. I might just very quickly show you how to set it all up. So everybody should have an Azure Function account. Go to functions.azure.com. I'm already signed in, so I come here. But normally you get a landing page and then you log in. And the functions I'm showing are all under a funky demo. So if I open that, it takes me to this place. This is actually the Azure Functions web interface inside the Azure portal. Oops. Let me just quickly show you. So yeah, you see this load up. And I'll quickly show you. See here, I used $3 this month. That's because I turned off all my VMs. I only run functions now. This month is nearly over, right? So in the function interface, we go to new functions, and mainly we can choose the languages. I want to mainly focus on PowerShell today. C# is very popular. F# has been GA this week. And if you're into JavaScript and Node.js, it's also very popular. So PowerShell, this is still experimental. This is not GA. And then you can pick a function and create. And that will be a function. And for people that have not seen a function before, it's basically one PowerShell file. You could just go here, test, and hit with the run. Here's the run button. And it's going to run your code in the cloud. And it's finished, and it's returned that string. Okay? And every function comes with the URL. So if I copy the URL, did I copy? Yes, it is. I go to a brand new page and just paste that. You'll see it's call my function and then return the results in just directly to HTML. Hey, Sebastian. So that's really very quickly what functions are. Now, to use PnP PowerShell, this is why we are talking about functions with Office 365. We need to add the PnP PowerShell with its DLLs into our Azure function, so it will run the additional commandlets. And because PowerShell is still in preview, there's no, the way you kind of get going is this. You go to the function app settings. You gotta hit this, go to Kudu. Kudu is a kind of web-based command line. You drop into the backend, and then you will see under site, under web root, all the functions appear here as folders. And that's the one I just created. So in here, you actually have to create a folder called modules. And then there's this next part. The next one is very quick. If you have the PnP PowerShell for SharePoint Online installed locally, you run this command. So you try to figure out where is the module installed on your machine. So it could be installed under program files if it's installed for all users, or it could be installed under your own local folder if it's just installed for you. Copy that. Go over to that folder I had it open from earlier. And you see this is the PnP PowerShell. This is where it's installed. The definition is here. The main DLL is this one. And then it uses a whole bunch of other things, including Microsoft JSON for SharePoint, the identity libraries, MSAL. Where is MSAL? There's a whole bunch of them. And so you basically need all of them in Azure Functions, so copy everything. Actually, you don't need the icon, because that's... So in Azure Functions, most of the compute, it will fall under the free bucket. So you're really just charged for the storage. That's why you don't want the icon, because it actually, costs you like maybe, I don't know. Anyway, you don't want the icon.
It's a 55 kilobytes, come on. But fair point.
Now we're all about cutting the costs. Costs.
Exactly.
So you can just drag and drop into here. And I might just do that. And storage also includes uploading. So this uploading is costing me maybe 1 cent. Crazy. Then that's about it. And if I go back to the function I was in, which is, I think, where is it? Did I end up? Oh, no, I was in it. Was here, right? Yeah. So if I come here, you could see the modules folder is here. You could also upload from here, but I do like the Kudu where you can drag and drop a whole bunch of things. And if I quickly do here, I don't know what's a good one. Okay. The command, how do I? Oh, I think. Let's just try that. So you see kind of in the log, I should have expanded this, kind of expand what I was thinking. You see that it's picked up all the DLLs from that folder. See, and it's telling me the commands that are available. You see most of the PnP commands are here. Okay. Now that's how you get set up. And let me delete this whole thing because I don't want this here. Just delete this. Now, when this was kind of made available last year, basically for each function you will have to, where are they? I don't know. I'm not actually sure why I can delete it, but anyway. Yeah, no, don't. But basically, last year for each function, you will have to copy all the PnP files in. So the more functions you write, you have all these libraries that are duplicated. Another thing is with the PnP PowerShell, over time we get more and more new commandlets, like the ones that could talk to Microsoft Graph, the ones that could talk to taxonomy. Erwin here. Erwin's in the chat room. Thank you, Erwin, for all your hard work. I love you. So in about February, they came up with this other syntax that became supported, which is this. Inside your function, you could basically import the module from a different folder. You can import it from another folder. So what I have now here in Kudu is, if I go back up to, so this folder is probably gone. If I go back up to the root, www root, I make a shared module folder here, and then I upload all the upload all the DLLs here. Then within all my functions, I could just reference. Let me just close one of these. I'm gonna get confused. Yeah, so within my functions, I could just reference. And then when this function runs, they're all sharing the same DLLs from one place. That also means that it's much easier for you to update all the DLLs that you use. As we get newer versions every month, I just upload over that folder. Okay, so that's pretty cool. To connect to, so this, I guess I'll start with this example. To connect to Office 365, we're probably familiar with this. We need the connect PnP online. Give it the URL. For me, it's my SharePoint site. Because we're running it unattended, we don't want a pop-up dialog. You need to pass through the credentials. And in PowerShell, you could do it this way. So my username, I've created a service account. It's actually it's not an app account. This is actually a person called service. And I have his password set. The password set in the environment. So if you go into the function app settings, there's a place for you to kind of record environment variables. That lets me, show you guys this code without showing you my password, which is kind of good. So I won't show you where that setting is. I also hide client secrets all in the app settings. So that's the line that will connect to PnP Online. And that line will get list items. And then for each item, I'm running the copy PnP file. So this will actually copy everything from my source. Source is actually something from my argument, so which is here. So when I hit run, it's going to use a sample JSON to call my web service, take everything from shared documents, and copy them all to test destination. So if I quickly show you my SharePoint Online. Here's my shared documents. I have about, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 pictures, 12 folders. Test destination is empty. I deleted earlier. So if I just run that, it's running. I try to connect. If there are no demo file, we can see more. But yeah, it's copying. You see how it's saying copy, copy, copy. Pretty quick. Yeah. Oh, see, it's finished. So you finish. What's that? 28. So 08 to 28. So 20 seconds is copied all 12 files. If I go over here, go to test destination, you will see all the files have been copied in, and they have all been copied by my service user. Cool. Sorry, I thought there was a question from the chat room. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So that's one. And in fact, because this is a URL, you could code this URL with a JSON. And so you could have some parameters that you could pass in, like based on how you build your function. So I think this is actually really powerful. You know, you can. I hope this is starting to give you ideas about what you can build. Another very quick one. What else?
And maybe one point to remember and point out.
Sure.
Now you're showing this from here, but again, you actually have the function URL, which is super cool. So you can actually build this using PnP PowerShell and then just hit that endpoint and voila, something is happening.
Yeah. Actually, now you mentioned that, let me quickly show you this really cool thing. If you go to the function app settings, there's this thing called configure cores. And you know, if you're doing JavaScript and you need to call out to an external domain to run some sort of post function, cores is built in. You just allow the domain to call from. So this could be your SharePoint Online URL. And then you could just have your SharePoint JavaScript from your SharePoint framework call out to this function. And the thing is, this function is running with a different user credential, possibly to the user that's currently running the JavaScript. So you essentially can do the whole elevated permission stuff as well. So you know, when we were in farm solutions, what do we need to build? We need to build elevate permissions. We need to build run as some other user. You know, this can handle all that situation. Functions could handle webhooks, which is like remote event receivers. Functions could be run on schedule, so that's kind of like your schedule task. So if you're from a farm solution background where you are used to all these things that are difficult to build in SharePoint Online, Azure Functions fits so well in this space. Like when I first saw this, so Jeremy Thake was in the functions team, and when I first saw him start tweeting about it and started to look into this, I was thinking, oh my God, it's like the Azure guys designed this for the SharePoint Online people. It's just, the fit was perfect.
And sorry, okay, I have to elaborate on that one step more, even more, kind of making sure that everybody gets what you're saying, because that's brilliant. One thing to kind of oversimplify things, what we're seeing here is a custom web API which can be called from JavaScript or a web service, and then you can actually configure what the web service is doing. It has a call to endpoint, and that's it.
Yes.
And that's brilliant, because now you can write your web service in PowerShell even, if you like. Absolutely brilliant.
And PnP PowerShell here, you know, you can use the whole PnP side core, and if you're more used to that in C#, that's perfectly fine. I just find because the PnP PowerShell wraps so much functionality, you could just do so much with PnP PowerShell. So this one's actually a Node.js function. This one is, which one is this? Sites create. So this one uses the PnP, and then it does the new site. So this will create a new team site. And then this applies the PnP provisioning template from a template that I've stored inside my SharePoint. So if I create, I hope I don't have this site, but let me just see. Yeah, I don't, oh no, I have the, I was testing it 2 hours ago. Let me just give it a different name. That's probably the quickest way to get this going. Sorry, I didn't time myself before I do this, so
no worries.
If I'm running over time.
We still have plenty of time. This is super cool stuff as well. So sorry, Bert. Yeah. I think John is taking all of the thunder from this call. So. But I will stay up and watch your thing. So this doesn't use the gray out, but now it grays out, makes it harder to read. But it's basically saying it's connecting to the parent side, to the root side. It cannot find PnP March 1, so it's creating a new template, team side template. And then once it's created that, it's applying the PnP provisioning template. So while it's thinking, I'll just like to show you guys this picture, right? I'm sure people have seen this. This is in the PnP provisioning engine. See how all this thing that we're doing in C#.
you could pretty much do it in 4 lines in PowerShell. It's pretty crazy. And so there's connect, new web, apply provisioning template. That's it. There we go. It's done. So that happened. That's 05. It started in 01. So about 1 minute and 4 seconds, we've got a site provision. Let's have a look. And it's got a simple template stamped over it. So let's see, the PnP match one made about 1 minute ago. And it's got a, so it's not a blue screen. It's got a font and a color and so on stamped over. Cool. That's that one. That's pretty cool. The graph one is this one that is actually pretty much the same as what Fessa showed, I think, in the last call, where we're using. So because now we have Michael Svensson, is he in the chat room? I don't know whether he's in the call. But yeah, I was trying to get this to work over December, and OAuth just cracks my head in. I couldn't cut it. But Michael Svensson, he got that to work. So now again, we can do unattended calls to Microsoft Graph, and this is pretty cool. Actually, I think there was another one. Sorry, quick one. I think there's one called the get access, get
yes,
Microsoft,
there is documentation for that.
Get access key or something. Is that one? No, not sure. Let me, if I can't find it, that's fine. Yeah, that one. So I'm just gonna copy that as well and throw that in here. So connect to graph. We're gonna show the key, and then we're gonna get a group. The group I'm after is a group I've created called PS1. What is it called PS1? PowerShell 1. Yeah. Oh, no, it doesn't like it PnP access token. Oops. Not sure why. Anyway, that wasn't part of the demo, so technically no demo failed yet. But what I wanted to show was, so in the PnP commandlets, we don't have commandlets for every endpoint in the Microsoft Graph. But we do have a way to get the access token. So you can use the Microsoft Graph, connect PnP Microsoft Graph to get your token, and then go and access the API directly using an info REST. So you could kind of combine the two, let PnP handle the authentication, which is the difficult part, and you get the nice token, which is like a key to your hotel room. You can do whatever you want. So that I think is really powerful. So I wanted to show that. Anyway, that I think is not the right commandlet, and this is the next part that actually run, and you can see it's retrieved my group. So I think the group was created a while ago. It did not have a SharePoint site created. Not sure why it's still not. This group has been around for a few months, so it might be a broken group. What's another fun one? The terms. So this was something that was asked on Twitter. Someone was saying, "Hey, can we get terms?" So this one is super cool because I want to talk about this one. So we are connecting to a site. We're looking for a term set and a term group, and we're selecting all the terms from that term group. I then use this thing. I convert the PowerShell array to a JSON array. So because PowerShell has all these really powerful commandlets, it just makes serialization so easy. So if you look at the output here, see how I have an array of all the locations in Australia, all the capital cities. So that comes straight as a what do you call it? That comes back out. Yeah, that comes back out as JSON. So if you're building, say, a web application, and you want to get a list of the term store from the taxonomy, you could have the Azure function spit that out for you. So that's pretty useful. But I did like this demo because this example shows things like convert to JSON is just super useful. And if you write this in C#, you might have to get a serializer, then pass your object in, and then serializer to a string, and all that fun stuff that I don't really like. I do like this. One final one. I'll do this one, then we'll. I don't know. I think this will be the last one. This one's a very common one. People want to say, you know, every Sunday, send an email update to someone about the number of tasks that haven't been closed in a task list. You know, that type of scenario. So in the old workflow days, we would think, okay, we need a workflow that will run every Sunday, and then it's going to have to loop through each item in a list, and then it's going to do some sort of logic to concatenate the string. In the PowerShell, I think it's just a lot easier. So again, connecting to the site, in here, I'm just getting a list of documents. I'm actually after the file name, the person that's changed it, and the day that it was changed, adding it to a PowerShell array. Then I'm sorting by the modified time, converting to a HTML table. See, again, those really powerful convert methods. And then I do a little debug, because actually, no, I just convert that to a string. And then I use the PnP mail to basically send that to me. to basically send that to me. So if I run this, I'm speeding through it. See, this is just so much fun. This is so much fun. So that's ran. It's finished in, I don't know, about 7 seconds. If I jump over to my sites here, mail, it's 231. Yep, that's the one. See how it's formatted nicely as a what do you call it? HTML table. It's just formatted nicely. This is too easy. So you can schedule that in your Azure function to run every Sunday.
Actually, yeah. John, that's a good thing. If you don't mind, actually, where do you schedule this stuff? Because I think that's the immediate follow-up for people. Okay, so cool. How do I actually schedule stuff?
Yeah. So there are two ways to do schedule. If you want to do everything in function, you could do it here. When you create the function, use the timer trigger. And then you need to use a cron job string to specify. You can actually say how often, like every 2 hours or every hour. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it, which may be better for, say, if you're in a team that has some power users and some developers. So the developer may be building this function, but you want the power user to have control over when to call your function, right? So you take the URL and you basically can do this connection, connect this piece of work inside Flow. So let me go to Flow. What's this one? Yeah, so in this Flow, Fesa, do you know I have this demo? How come you make this? It's like you ask me a question that's lead up to this demo. Anyway, I have a frequency of 7. It's calling the exact method that you just asked me. I don't know how you did this. But yeah, so you could say every 7 days, and there's a advanced option about when is the next time it's going to run, and then it's going to call your function. And if in fact, I pass in a slightly different, what do you call it? Slightly different argument, just so that we can see it's being called from different place. And I think there's a way to see when it's being run. So yeah, 6 days ago it ran, so it's due to be run again soon. What else do I want to show here? So if I can't just make this run now. As you can see, I'm at the, there we go, run now. Did you guys see this? This is new. You could save a flow now, starting from yesterday. So anyway, I know we're all developers, but actually I'm pretty excited about being able to save a flow, and then you can give it to someone else. You can move it around sites. Thank God. Anyway, let's run that. So that's it. Did that finish?
I think it did. Yep.
Yeah, it did. So 11 seconds ago you finished. And if I quickly come back here, which get list an email, you see it. This is the second time it ran, I think. Yeah, so that's a 330 and that's a 334. That's the second time it ran. And I think I will have gotten a second email. Yeah, here we go. Yep, same email, really. So I think Flow is a great way to do that, let your user control when do they want to send this thing. Flow, super, very good. So if your function is created in the same account as your Flow, then when you create an action in Flow, it will actually list your functions here. So your functions will appear here. If the function is made in a different system, you could then use PnP Core. You can use HTTP, or you can upload a Swagger file. So I have something like a Swagger file that points to all my endpoints together. And actually, it's actually really cool. In one function app, you can mix languages. So one of the things I've been doing is I've been trying to learn F#. And you will never build F# for a whole app, but you could easily use F# just for one function. I thought that was fun. Anyway, it's a very functional language. Kind of like C# married JavaScript to me. Anyway, I hope I didn't offend function people. Anyway, sidetracked. So that's Flow. One last one. You can call functions from SharePoint Designer. So in SharePoint Designer, this is 2013 workflow, you can build dictionaries, right? And dictionary essentially is your little JSON. Then you call your function with the variable as the post body, capture the results, and log it to a history. So let's change this to say, hello, Feza. Publish this. While it's publishing, we go over to our site contents, site workflow. So that was a site workflow. That's not a list workflow. I tested one earlier. Let me just make sure it's finished. This may be my one demo file. How come it takes so long to save a workflow? I probably didn't need to change it. Oh well. Any questions from the chat room?
Feedback related on, a lot of feedback related on demos and the fact that are we showing seriously SharePoint Designer? But anyway. The whole point is that you can, it doesn't have to be, it can be anything what can call an HTTP endpoint. That's the beauty of the functions.
But I have a peeve about SharePoint Designer, like it's so much work to go in and change something. And if you're trying to do REST and trying to folder around these actions, it's pretty hard. I find it a lot easier to just replace the whole body with an edge function. Anyway, let me run that. It should say Professor. There's no argument, so it's just going to start running. And it's going to send me another email, I think. SharePoint editor. Yes, you can call from Nintex Workflow Cloud as well. So if the second one is the 2 a.m. one. If I show you to complete it. You see here it says done faster. So the argument has gone to the functions, wasn't included in the email, but then it came back in the output, which I captured and then saved into the log. You see I got another email. Same function, didn't do anything.
That's really cool. That's really good. Now, I do apologize, John. This is awesome stuff, but we need to make sure that Bert has to go through his material as well.
Let me just. Yeah,
if you want to.
I'm done. Okay,
cool. Cool. But thank you, John, for this one. Bert, you can probably switch to presentation, because I think you have used 2 slides, and then we can actually do a quick demo on that one as well. But absolutely brilliant demo, and it's great to see the integration and the awesome capabilities around the Azure Functions. And one thing what John mentioned, but it's not super clear unless you kind of followed up on the discussions in social media, using Azure Functions is super cheap. So the costs are typically 1/10 of using a website or a web API or something. It's really ridiculously cheap, at least for now. So hopefully it will be in the future as well.
Every month I pay about 15 cents. 15 cents.
Okay.
Bert, so feel free to take over.
Let's move on. Great demo, John, and I think I can probably relate Azure Functions to the next part as well. It's not in a demo, but you gave me ideas on how to use Azure Functions as well, so good. Okay, switching gears, talking about modern experience. So modern experience is kind of, well, is a term, we call it modern, but we should stop calling it modern at a certain point of time because it's not modern anymore. But it is actually comprised of all the new user interface experiences we have. So we have like a new way to work with lists and libraries, like a fluent UI. We have like modern pages today, responsive, nice looking pages, which we talked about in last SIG call as well. Now, these new modern experiences are turned on by default, but what we see is that big enterprises tend to turn them off. Why? Because they want to assess the impact, meaning they want to understand, like, if I turn it on, will it work everywhere? Because we want to have like a coherent experience for all our users, and what parts of my tenant, what kind of sites, what libraries, what lists will not work with modern. So that's the key reason why we built the scanner. So the scanner is there to answer those questions like, okay, let's say I enable modern pages or I have it enabled. How can I know which sites are not able to use them? Same for lists and libraries. It has been enabled, but a user could have disabled it at the user level. An administrator, site admin, could have turned it off at site or web scope level. The particular list or library might have features which are not compatible with modern, and as such, the list will render in classic UI. So these are questions that really keep big customers awake. And related to that, because the first two are really about scanning for actual modern features. Now, when I built the scanner, I also included, thought about other type of customizations, which are not necessarily tied to modern, but classic customizations that you have, like for example, use a custom action, which is embedding JavaScript, typical one that we see very often and that we actually have been promoting heavily with PnP. Now, if you have such a customization, it is actually ignored on modern pages. That JavaScript is not embedded, and as such, it doesn't do anything. Now, the scanner also will have a look at those type of customizations. So it will give you, when it scans sites, it will detect like, oh, here's an incompatible user custom action, so and it will log that. So at the end, you will have a list of sites pointing to customizations, which is like, okay, if I want to have a full modern experience, these are the customizations that I need to work on. Essentially, that I need to kind of update or improve. All right, so this is all based on the MSDN guidance. So at the bottom, you see the link pointing to our MSDN articles around modern experience. So if you want more background around modern experiences and around how to customize modern experiences, I would recommend checking out those articles. We keep them up to date. We do like weekly changes because we detect, we see new things, we have changes in the product, or we just further keep on improving those articles. Now, what did we build? It's we call it a modern user interface scanner. The thing had to have a name. Maybe the name is there's some room for improvement in the name, but that's what it's called today. And essentially, it's a .exe using PnP bits. It uses some of the PnP sites core code. It's all wrapped into one exe. So you just download one zip file containing one exe that you can run. And we'll do like a multi-threaded scan of your tenant. Now, the multi-threaded part is important because this can take a while. Remember that it will have to scan each site, each web, and each list. And for each list, it will do like a kind of a deep dive inside the list to detect like what list features are not compatible. I think I did a run on MSIT. Relatively big MSIT tenant. It's about 5,000 site collections, and it took, if I recall correctly, around 12 hours. Running it remotely from Belgium to based against the US-based tenant, so not optimal. But just relating this to John's call, you could perfectly run this exe in an Azure function close to your tenant, so that would definitely increase performance. Now, what will the scanner do? It starts scanning, and that's the part you have to wait for a while until it's done. At the end of the run, it will generate files for you, a kind of a set of repos, essentially. We're going to look at the repos in a demo, but this is what you get as output. These repos you can use to further assess how good or how bad is your tenant when it comes to embracing the modern user experiences. All right, any questions so far? If not, I'm going to go into the demo. I think we're pretty okay. So let me share my screen. Hopefully it works this time, because last time it refused. So I'm sharing. Loading. It's an error occurred.
And got it. Oh,
you got it?
No, it flashed there for a second and then.
Okay, well, I will just drop the call and be back in 1 minute. So okay. You have to entertain the people.
Yeah, I can do singing while we're waiting for you.
Yes, all right, okay.
That usually helps. Any other questions? There was a discussion around the modern experiences and the fact that if you create a site from an admin UI, it's always classic, and that is absolutely a pity. Is the PowerShell available for people to customize? Absolutely. You can modify modern or classic sites using PnP PowerShell as well. Now, on the modern sites, there are certain limitations. So if you're trying to set property bags or use custom actions, you will get an exception. Limit on the number of site columns that provisioning engine can handle. There is no limit on the provisioning engine itself. The limits are coming from SharePoint. So no technical limitations like Erwin mentioned. And it takes about 10 to 12 minutes to execute and apply provisioning template in the meta. Has anyone run into this kind of scenario? Well, it depends on a template. Now we need to remember that the PnP provisioning template actually defines what we need to execute as a CSOM operations. If we only have a one custom list or whatever, then the operation is fast and simple. If the template is super complex, like in the case of Paul, that can actually take a significant amount of time because we're applying a lot of stuff on the site. But sharing is working for Bert, so let's flip back on the Bert's demo and continue Q&A after that.
Yes, okay, sorry for the little hiccup. So what I want to do is do a quick run over the documentation. So first of all, everything is already published on GitHub. This is a preview, by the way, so it's not officially released because we're doing some testing with a number of big customers. But I would encourage you guys to try it out, download the tool, give it a run, and provide feedback using the regular PnP channels. So it's under PnP Tools, the Solutions folder, and then there is the SharePoint.ui experience scanner that you want. In there is a quick start guide, which I will walk you through. So essentially, you download the tool, which is an exe. Once you have the tool, there's two ways to run the tool. Either use app only or use username password. The recommended approach is app only because it's the easiest way to guarantee that the tool can read all the site collections in your tenant. If you work with an account, you would have to grant that account permissions to all site collections, which is in a smaller tenant that might be possible. For a large tenant, that's kind of hard to do. So it kind of explains how to create a new principal, how to grant it the proper permissions. So it's tenant scope permissions. You have to consider this client ID and client secret combination as like your admin password and account. So really we safeguard this ID and secret, because with it people can access all the data in your tenant. You have to give it app only, of course, this one, and full control as well. So that's important. Then you have to trust it. It will, and then at that point here, app principal is created. Okay, next step is an actual scan of the environment. So, and that's fairly simple. You call the tool, you provide your tenant and your client ID and client secret. So in this case, calling the tenant is named Contoso. So if your tenant is contoso.sharepoint.com, you provide Contoso. It will figure out all the rest. And client ID, client secret. It starts running, showing some output. In the end, and I'm not going to show the run in practice because it's boring to watch the console application dumping some statements on screen. So in the end, you'll get a number of reports, and that's what's interesting. That's actually the result of the run. And I will have a look at these reports in a second. Now, the actual columns of the reports are described in the manual as well, so you can learn what's in there. What I do want to quickly touch upon is options to do a partial scan. So you typically will scan for everything, blocked lists, blocked pages, and ignored customizations. But you can kind of control what's scanned. And another important note, this is SharePoint Online Dedicated. If you're on Dedicated, you have to use slightly different parameters. So because in Dedicated, we can't simply figure out what are the actual URLs to use. So you have to provide that to the tool. For example, here, I'm scanning everything under team.contoso.com and under my site.contoso.com. Then I provide the URL to the DVNext admin center, which is contoso-admin.contoso.com. I made up these URLs, but I think if you're a dedicated customer, you know what this means. All right, let's have a quick peek at the output. So I ran the tool before, and when you run the tool, it generates a folder, a timestamp folder, essentially. So each run stores this data into a unique folder. No, you never will overwrite existing data, which is good. And then you get those individual CSV files, which I already have opened up in Excel. So let's first start with model pages. It's a really simple one, because a model page can only be blocked whenever you have disabled the model page feature. So, and the report will tell you like, okay, these are the sites where this feature has been disabled. When is the feature disabled? Because someone did it on purpose, as part of provisioning, for example. Or if you have a publishing portal, we don't enable the feature on publishing portal. The opposite is true though. If you have a team site, and on a team site you've enabled publishing features, at that point the model page feature is also enabled, and you kind of have both essentially. But this is then the list of sites that are not having this modern page experience. So if you want to work in your site to have it everywhere, you need to start from this list. You see a block appearing a lot here. I think that's by design. The classic block will not be able to use modern pages. All right, modern lists. It's a pretty big list. You see it's from my test tenant, which has like 200 site collections. It contains a lot of data. And I did this on purpose so you can really filter out to see what's relevant for you. So again, we have site URLs, this column, and then individual view URLs, because whether a list is showing in Modern, it's not just depending on the list itself, it's also depending on the view that is used to show the list data. Currently, the tool is only scanning the default view page of a list. So we're not scanning, for example, an add page, because that would kind of take quite, to really increase the time for the overall scan, and the most impacted one is I think the view of the list data. So what do you get from this report? You will be able to filter out which site collections have been blocking Modern lists and libraries at site level or at web level. Or for example, where did the user kind of turn a particular Modern UI off for a site collection, for a list. So in this case, I have 3 lists in 2 different site collections where the end user said, like, no, I'm not interested in running the Modern UI. I turned it off. So let's flip this back on. It will tell you the list page render type, which is the default property you get back from Microsoft, which is a new API discussed in previous SIG call. What else is really handy? Important here is it will give you multiple reasons why a list might not be rendering in Modern. So in this case, manage metadata. If you have that turned on, the list will not render in Modern. You see this one is manage metadata true, and also it's using a calendar-based view, which is not supported. So it's not rendering in Modern. It's using a base template, which is not supported as well. So that's the idea behind. You check on the blocked columns, you filter out where the truths, and then you see typically the next column, like the actual values when they're relevant. So there's multiple reasons. You see a big list, base template, number of web parts on the page, JS link. I think that's a popular one as well. So let's have a peek. If I put JS link to true, you will see that there's a number of lists which having JS link set at the list web part level. XSL link, XSL, etc. Same story. And then it moves into fields. Certain fields are also blocking a list to render in Modern. Field can have a JS link, again at field level, not at web part level, field level. And there can be types of fields like business data, task outcome, publishing fields, geolocation that are blocking it. And finally, certain list custom actions can also prevent a list from showing in Modern. All of this is gathered in this particular big report for you to analyze. And then the other last report, I'm kind of close on time, but there is this ignored customizations report over here, which is giving you a list of all the customizations which are ignored, kind of not respected on Modern pages. This is an overview. It will give you like whether it's a master page or alternate CSS or custom action, which is causing the customization not to show up. And then you can, if you want to have more details, for example, custom action, you go to the actual custom action report. So there's a detailed report telling you like, okay, on this site, I have a script linked custom action, which is not supported because it's using script link is not allowed. It will give you the actual scripts and other details. So this will give you an inventory of all the custom actions floating around in your environment, which will just not show up on Modern. And you don't want those things to just not show up because you want your functionality to work. So these are things that you have to tackle as part of being ready for Modern experience. All right, so I think Vesa, can we flip back to the last? Well, actually, I shall switch to the last slides.
Yeah, we can have a look at the slides.
One.
We're running out of time anyway.
Yes, that's why, but I'm going to end with the Q&A slides.
Yes.
For the video.
Yes.
This one. So it was a quick overview. We'll do a more detailed recording of the tool pretty soon. And this is a preview version, so the plan is to have a final version by end of next week, if possible. we'll see how things go, how the testing goes. But yeah, any feedback is welcome. Give it a try and let us know.
And obviously, please use the tech community or the issue lists in GitHub. We're trying to follow up on all of those which are coming in. And for this particular tool, what Bert showed, it would be the PnP tools repo and the issue list over there. But again, we are trying to migrate stuff over as stuff is happening, as people are submitting them in the issue lists. But I think we're running out of time for this one. Thank you, John, for an awesome demo on Azure Functions. You kind of stole the thunder from Bert. The Bert's tool, or this particular tool which Bert demonstrated, it's more for enterprise analytics, but quite often that kind of insight is needed across the tenant as well. But I think it was a nice balance of super cool new stuff and then enterprise scale analytics as well. But thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bert. Thank you, John. And the recording of this one will be available in YouTube within 24 hours. And I'll push out a Twitter tweet when it's actually pushed out. But thank you, everybody. Please, let's stay in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys.